anti-Israel, pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas, whatever you want to call it, channels on YouTube are, there's no shortage of them. Luckily, there's no shortage of time slots for shows here. We do this every day, so we get to talk about all of them, and they deserve it. One of those channels is Democracy Now!, which from the name, you can probably already guess, even if you don't know who they are, that they are probably not fans of the positive things about democracy, like individual rights being protected, but they're fans of what eventually happens if you have a system where the majority rules. And yeah, democracy now within the left are their own special kind of evil. We're going to talk about them today. We're going to talk about them while going through a recent video, although this is the one we're going through only because it's recent. Really anything we pick out of their content, we could randomly scroll through, click a video, decide that that's what we're talking about, not even prepare, and it will be disgusting and worthy content for us to talk about. I'll also say, just so that people watching this recording know, we are using stuff from their channel. They might have a copyright claim, in which case we're going to talk about clips. And if you're watching the recording, you won't know what's being said. But the reality show is also uploaded to our X account, in which you can find it. And we will link to the video we're talking about in the description and in the chat. We want people to see these people and how evil they truly are. Welcome to the reality show. I'm joined by Marco and Richard. Marco, any initial thoughts before we go into the video?
Yes, again, thank you guys for making me see this thing. I wasn't very much aware of Democracy Now! By the way, it's Democracy Now! Exclamation mark, i.e., we must have it now because we really live in a terrible place, United States of America. I mean, honestly. Anyway, the range of videos that they produce is pretty quite pathetic. It's the usual lefty stuff, and I like the fact that they pretend not to be lefties. Everybody knows they're incredibly lefty, incredibly biased, but because they're not funded by evil corporations or governments, they are effectively a taxpayer-backed, I assume, corporation. They only take donation, all this kind of stuff, allegedly. So they manufacture a sort of virginity, a sort of independence, which is supposed to, hoodwink us all in thinking, oh yeah, these guys are really on the button. Clearly not. Just read the stuff they do, watch a few videos, and this video is beautifully expressing the essence of this channel. You have the token helpful idiot Jew making a stupid statement. You have the people defending the Hamas guy. And also, at the end of it, most of the video is actually taken over by a Republican from, sorry, a representative, Democratic representative from Vermont, who's, thick as two planks, which is a good news if you want to become politicians in the United States. But I mean, the kind of stuff she says is just unbearable. But that's the kind of stuff that these guys put out. That's the kind of seriousness that they exude. So watch and laugh.
So,
Yeah,
so
I'll
many,
just say in the Daily Objective, I asked Daniel to calm down after he dropped an F-bomb. But when we get to this Vermont Congresswoman, hopefully I can keep it limited to just an F-bomb. Richard.
yeah, I mean, so many spoilers for some of the delights to come. I mean, let's just start with that exclamation point, shall we? I mean, it's the most offensive of all punctuation marks in the first instance, isn't it? It's like a condensed version of a protest chant. And really, they ought to call it something like, judging by the content that I see on the side repeatedly, and it's often suggested, is grievancy now, maybe. Because that's all they seem to do, is they seem to pick a victim somewhere, and even within a single episode, it's who can out-victim the other victims within the episode and become top victim now in that episode. Essentially, that exclamation mark is an emotional vomit. It's an angry blurt, isn't it? And that sums up the sort of cognitive content we're talking about here. I think this is kind of, it's sort of missing the point media a lot of the time. It misses the essential issues, and it really doesn't get to the heart of what we're going to try and expose here when we talk about this with this particular example. And of course, not to mention, of course, that it is lefty in the extreme. It is proper progressive lefty. It's human rights, social justice, cause of the day, lefty cause that, what wants a soapbox. That's where you'll find it on this channel, on that channel, not this one.
Yeah, El Rito says, video, nothing good comes from videos played on this channel. On behalf of Owen Jones, I'm offended. But no, come on, the South Park video, the video of the economics professor getting arrested. We have some good videos on this channel, but yeah, for the most part, you're right. Well, the good thing that comes out of us playing video is our commentary on those videos, which is why you should like, share, subscribe, and continue to comment. Il Harrison reminds me why I should get my Seinfeld references in early. Yeah, Serenity Now is, of course, the first thing I also thought when I saw this, and have to keep repeating when watching their videos. But yeah, people remember that episode. It does end with Serenity Now, insanity later. So let's start the insanity, Daniel. All right, the video is working as well as the ideas of Democracy Now! In action. So I will wait until we fix that, and I will thank PC for the super chat. PC says, Democracy Now! No, it's woke now. LOL. Yeah, people are very happy that this video isn't working, but unfortunately, I see Daniel has shared the screen again, and let's see if it's working now. Daniel, let me know when I should... Oh, and thank you, Roland, for the super chat. Roland says, super chat now. Yeah, that is a policy I can get behind. Daniel, are we gonna... I informed our viewers who are watching the recording that they might not be able to see this video, but are we gonna have to try to do this from memory? Which maybe we can. It does look like that might be the case.
Yeah, I don't really know what's happening. Give me like a few more minutes to figure it out.
A few more minutes? We don't have a few more minutes of content, Marco.
Yeah, we can perform the American anthem if you like. Well, what am I supposed to say? I mean, the main topic of this clip we might see or might not see is about the arrest of a sorry excuse for a human being, which is the guy, one of the two guys behind the creation of the Palestinian Student Union, which we see him performing in the protests.
We begin.
Goody.
Do you want to finish the sentence?
yeah,
and then we'll listen to the lovely lady.
No, carry on.
In Colombia was the end of that.
Columbia University, yeah. Where most of the retarded came from, yeah.
We begin today's show in Vermont, where the Trump administration is seeking to deport Columbia University student Mohsen Mahdawi because his activities could, quote, potentially undermine, unquote, the Middle East peace process. That's the reason cited by Secretary of State Marco Rubio in a memo the Department of Homeland Security submitted in Mahdawi's case, the same one cited for the detention of his fellow Columbia student protest leader, Mahmoud Khalil. Mohsen Mahdawi was set to graduate Columbia this spring, but he's now being held in a prison in northwest Vermont after he was detained by Homeland Security agents when he went to an immigration services center to take a civics test that's the final step in the process of becoming a naturalized U.S. citizen. Mahdawi has been a permanent resident, a green card holder since 2015, for a decade. He moved to Vermont from the occupied West Bank in 2014, where he was the third generation in his family to live in Fraa, a Palestinian refugee camp. He then attended Lehigh University in Pennsylvania before transferring to Columbia in 2021 to study international affairs. His legal team says they have not received, quote, any information or basis for his detention. They say the militant Zionist organization Betar has called for his deportation and targeted him online. The group wrote online Monday, quote, we confirm we provided info on him and many others, unquote. This comes as all three members of Vermont's congressional delegation, Senators Bernie Sanders and Peter Welch, as well as the Congress member Becca Balint, are calling for Mahdawi's release, as well as Vermont's Republican Governor Phil Scott, who issued a statement Tuesday criticizing his detention. In a minute, we'll speak with Democratic Congressmember Balint of Vermont. But
Okay,
first,
before we get to the Congresswoman, first of all, an apology. You know, I want to, you know, set the record straight when I'm wrong. We talked about this a few days ago, and I referred to him as Moshen, whatever his last name is. Apparently, it's Mashan Marhawi. That is the correct pronunciation. By the way, to the leftist in the chat, can I ask for your help? I never know when it's cultural appropriation or cultural appreciation to, you know, try to pronounce something in an accent of a language that you don't speak at all. But yeah, that's something I missed there. Also, militant Zionist organization Beitar. Look, I don't like everything that they do. But yeah, come on. You're telling a story here, and this is a beautiful story, by the way. We talked about the story a couple of days ago. This is a story of justice. And there's nobody tells it worse than Democracy Now! But yeah, you know, Beitar can't get the government to act on things that are not within the law. This guy, you know, violated the terms of his visa, and he is on his way out. Marco.
And rightly so. I mean, as I was saying earlier on, the guy set up with the other jihadi lover, the Palestinian Student Union, which has been causing all sorts of action of destruction and criminality across the campuses in the United States. They were inspiring all this kind of, you know, you will remember the occupation of the Hamilton Hall at Columbia, all the chanting pro-jihad, all the intimidation of Jewish students, all the occupations, all the destruction of university property. So this guy, despite marketing himself as a peace-loving, nice guy, first of all, he's another Palestinian who apparently escaped the open-air prison. You know, have you seen anything more porous than the borders of Gaza ever? Anyway, he managed to find his way. He gets to a Ivy League university in the United States, probably somebody else's expenses, of course. And then he organizes this kind of college intifada. And then he paints himself of, oh, I'm a Buddhist. I love everyone. And in the first interview he does, he actually talks about, he first thought after October 7 was, oh my God, my friend, the Hamas guys will be retaliated by Israel. And this kind of betrays. I mean, they are so disingenuous. They can't even keep up the facade that they're trying to create for themselves. And when it comes to actually talking, they let slip the truth all the time. This is because they're not particularly clever. All they're able to do is actually come out and ask for the death of Jews, really.
But I think the key thing in the way Democracy Now! Covers this, and is going to cover this even more so as it gets in deeper and deeper throughout the clips we're going to show, is the fact that it treats it as though it's a free speech issue only, and as if the guy has only written or spoken a few words and is being bundled into the back of the car for the fact that he's written or spoken a few words. And that is just not representative of the facts. And clearly that wouldn't be sufficient. If that were the case, bloody hundreds of thousands would have been bundled into the back of the car. It's clearly not the case at all. And what we're talking about here is confusing the criminal activity, as Marco mentioned there, the vandalism, the trespass, the violation of the terms of Colombia, and of course the terms of his visa, as you say. And it's those elements of criminality which have been brought to light in the course of this, and that's why he's being taken away, and will be will go through the normal process for that. But of course, he's being presented as a victim. So in order to do that, you have to erase, you have to drop the context of all that. You have to wipe that from the record of your report, which is exactly what Democracy Now! Has done by conveniently forgetting some of the essentials and showing none of what actually happened on Colombia as a reminder. Now, for sure they would be showing reminders where the situation reversed and it was some Jew who's being arrested for something. They'd be showing you exactly what had happened. But of course, this is the way they approach things.
Yeah, and that's not a hypothetical because they are mentioning Beitar and they are showing the arrest of the woman whose name I forgot in wherever it was. All right, let's watch before the video. We'll get to that part as well.
Tuesday to one of the many people who knows Mahdawi well and have been speaking out since he was taken by federal immigration agents.
My name is Gili Getz. I'm an organizer. I'm Israeli. I'm a peace activist, and I'm an organizer with the Israelis for Peace. It's a group we started after October 7. We looked for a place where we could be fully human.
Okay, let's pause here. First of all, look, we have a Jew, so we're totally not anti-Semitic. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, you all do that, people who are anti-Israel. Token Jew, PC says in the chat. Yeah, absolutely. And this guy, just from those few words, we know that's his life goal, is to be the token Jew of anti-Semites. He says after October 7th, we were looking for a place where we could be fully human meaning not wanting justice to be brought to the people who committed the attacks and not wanting to prevent them from doing what they promised to do, which is repeat the attacks again and again until there are no more Jews left to kill. Of course, I'm sure excluding this one Jew who he may think will spare. But yeah, you mentioned the 60 Minutes interview with Moshe Mahdawi, where he said his first reaction to October 7th was, oh no, what's gonna be the revenge? So yeah, this Gil guy those two are two peas in a pod. Marco.
Yeah, I mean, I hate this kind of rent-a-gobs in support of deadly causes like Hamas and pro-Palestinian one. Because I mean, yeah, he calls himself a peace activist, but yeah, he does peace activism from the United States. Because if you were in Israel, he would probably suffer the same end, the same fate of the peace activists in the kibbutzes which have been attacked on October 7. Lots of peace activists like him were actually murdered, slaughtered, burnt alive by his friends, and now he's coming out as a peace activist, trying and protect the side that caused all this. It's just disgusting. I don't understand what goes in the head of these people. Why they don't realize what they're actually saying, what they're actually supporting when they make this broad statement saying things like all humanity is the same. No, some humanity chooses to behave like less than animals, and Hamas and the Palestinians are such humanity.
Yeah, that inability to make the distinction at all and call everybody fully human is right at the heart of this, I think. And of course, floating concepts like peace, peace just bobbing in the air like a little balloon you want to catch hold of and give to a little girl. It's just such nonsense, because it refuses to accept who is disrupting the peace, who is causing the violence, who is initiating the force, as we saw on October the 7th. And then, of course, he talks about things like empathy and listening. And this fits in exactly with the kind of channel that Democracy Now! Is, because it's the kind of people that demand empathy. It's like the signs on the London Underground which say, be kind. I think they've got an exclamation mark after them as well. And they sound proper threatening as well. What it means is be kind to people who are not being kind to you. And it is clearly, it's the same mentality that we're talking about here. So yeah, and he's got some gems to come. So maybe we want to hear the next bit of him.
Yes, Akira asks, do you know any progressive Jews, Razi? First of all, I don't know what the word progressive means, as opposed to, you know, the leftists give themselves different labels. Do I know any leftist Jews? Yes, I know. I know people who are, you know, who have views similar to this guy, but I cut them all out of my life after October 7th, realizing I probably should have done that earlier. And luckily, none of the Democracy Now! People were ever in my life, but they would be cut off as well. Let's listen to a bit more of them.
Humanity of Israelis and Palestinians and everybody who lives in the land. And Mohsin was an incredible partner in conversation about peacemaking and bridge building in a reality that is extremely polarized. He was doing the really hard work of empathy, listening to people, trying to bring people together across enormous divide. And the news of his kidnapping by the Trump administration was so devastating to us, as is the news of kidnapping of all students illegally, unlawfully, as part of a larger attack on our democracy, our freedom, just our ability to live in a democracy.
That was Gili Getz, an organizer with the group Israelis for Peace, NYC, who knows Mohsen Mahdawi. For more, we go to Brattleboro, Vermont, where we're joined by Democratic Congressmember Becca Balint. She's the first Jewish member of Congress to call for a ceasefire in Gaza. She is the granddaughter of a man who is lost in the Holocaust. She issued
All
a
right,
statement.
that's a very good place to stop. Look, another Jew, and this Jew is the granddaughter of a Holocaust victim. Not sure I was going to say survivor, but either way, yeah. If her grandfather was in the Holocaust, how can you even oppose anything she says? And you know, she's a Jew. She's the first Jew who called for a ceasefire. I mean, what more do you need? So yeah, they kind of set the stage with why this is a figure of authority and why this is also a figure of here's why we're not anti-Semitic. Marco.
I mean, this is such a pathetic attempt to provide some kind of legitimacy to this woman just because her grandparent died in the Holocaust. Also, the woman, the presenter woman, she says a man lost in the Holocaust. It's like, what? What are you on about? Can't even get yourself to say the word murder by the Nazis. I mean, what's wrong with you, woman? But anyway, this kind of, you know, Finkelsteinish or the other bunch of idiots that they try to be seen as sympathetic to Israel by saying that somebody in the past was killed. It's got nothing to do with them. It doesn't say anything about the character, the fact that their grandparents died in a Holocaust. If anything else, says you're a bloody exploiter. They would use even their granddad's death in order to make up a story for their own survival. It's just appalling. I hate when people use somebody else's credits in order to make themselves, create some prestige for themselves. It's just, it invalidates everything that might come out good from the mouth. And you'll notice that nothing good will come out from her mouth.
I just want to say a few words about what the guy before said in the second half of that clip from the Israelis for Peace guy, which of course is, you know, Israelis for capitulation to Hamas group, really, in all but name, because he's talking about this guy who's just been arrested, and talking about what a king of peacemaking and bridge building he is. But it's always in one direction, isn't it? It's Jews conceding to terrorists is the only bridge that needs to be built in the minds of these people. That's the divide they're trying to cross. That's the polarization that the Jews should leave from their side and come over and be accepting of the Palestinian demands. And then, of course, he uses the term kidnapping to refer to what's happened to this guy being arrested by the immigration authorities, which, you know, when there are still hostages held in Gaza who have been actually kidnapped, to be using this term in relation to this this normal process taking place in the US regarding someone's visa is absolutely horrendous. But of course, that falls right into the MO, the way these people operate when they use words like genocide and concentration camp with impunity to take those out of the context of like the Holocaust or what happened in the Second World War and apply them inappropriately and irrelevantly and in a gaslighting projection kind of fashion to what's happening in Gaza.
Yeah, by the way, on Akira's previous question, the leftist Jews I know do that all the time as well, and for a reason, because they are on the side of those who want to finish the job, and this is a way of saying, well, how can you accuse me of that? I mean, we've seen Dave Smith do that. And I've had my heartfelt plea to all Jews who or non-Jews who ever debate Dave Smith to not let him get away with that because yeah, he is on that side. Daniel's biggest fan is asking about the protests, who's funding the protests, who's funding Middle East Eye. I'm not a fan of those type of questions. In a sense, it matters when it's foreign governments. Like when Qatar is funding this stuff, we need to know and stop it and stop pretending that Qatar is an ally. If it's a foreign dictatorship, yeah, they should not be allowed to fund anything within the country, certainly no political activities. But there's an implication that these people don't believe what they're saying. I pay myself a salary through the Ayn Rand Center UK. If Democracy Now! Offers me, twice or 10 times or 100 times what I'm getting paid to spew their bullshit, I'm not going to take it. So the fact that people are, that money is involved doesn't mean that they don't believe what they're saying. Now, I think there are maybe paid protesters in some of these protests, but I don't think these guys are expressing their views because they get money. I think they actually are genuinely evil and believe this crap. Okay, some more of this crap.
Vermont Senators Bernie Sanders and Peter Welch on the Trump administration's detention of Mohsen, saying, quote, "This is immoral, inhumane, and illegal. Mr. Mahdawi, a legal resident of the United States, must be afforded due process under the law and immediate release from detention." Congressmember Balint, welcome back to Democracy Now! It's great to have you with us. Talk about what's taken place. I mean, the fact that he was brought to Vermont and explain. He reached out to all three of you, to Senators Welch and Sanders and you, before saying, I'm being told to come in for this test. I'm worried this is a trap.
Yeah. And so, what I want people to understand is you have a situation, as you said, he has been a green card holder for 10 years. Mr. Mahdawi has been accused of no crime. Okay, this is critically important for people to understand. He's been accused of no crime, went in for his final citizenship interview. It seems like this was possibly a ruse to get him to show up, then arrested upon his arrival. And again, I want people to understand these were masked, hooded men in plain clothes with an unmarked van handcuffing him. This is not the America I think many of us thought we lived in. And he was not afforded the ability to speak to his attorney right away. He was not afforded due process, the court of law. He's being attacked because of free speech. This should terrify every single person living in this country, regardless of your citizenship status. They are coming for people because of their beliefs and what they may have said. And I'm so enraged by this also because of who Mr. Mahdawi is. He has said in the past that the fight for freedom of Palestine and the fight against anti-Semitism go hand in hand because injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
Okay.
He is not
all right. I love how important free speech is to the left in the last few months. Great to hear. By the way, it's not just that she is Jewish and her grandfather was murdered in the Holocaust, but she's also the first openly gay member of Congress from Vermont. So congratulations to Vermont for no longer being lesbophobic. Now you just hate the Jews. That's, I guess, a step up. Marco.
Yeah, they could have found a lesbian with a bit of brains as well, couldn't they? But what's immoral, inhumane, and illegal? Taking people to Vermont? Oh, it's not such a bad state, is it? Apart from the representatives. Again, this woman, God, my first reaction, I'd like to strangle her. She talks such amount of horse manure that's just unbearable. One personal plea to the Americans: please read the Constitution, and please demand that your representative in the Congress and your presidents and the people who serve you are aware of what the Constitution is or what it says, because she's talking bollocks from the beginning to the end. There's nothing illegal about some terrorist supporter who caused crime to be picked up by unmarked and masked people. I mean, what the hell? Do the police have to go? Do the security service or whoever they were have to go around with labels or with a kit all branded? Because why? So you can escape them when you see them arrive. She's talking so much crap. The kind of first of all, there's nothing illegal about the fact that the guy can be deported. His visa can be revoked, and she's making such a talking about Nazi Germany. It's just unbelievable that a member of the Congress would say such a thing. It's absolutely disgusting, and just drives me mad.
It does, absolutely. And whether he actually caused the crimes himself or instigated them through the organization which occupied the Columbia University for so long, and all of the events that took place that he was part of the agitating group for and one of the co-leaders of, all of that, they make it sound like he's not going to get due process. And that is a ridiculous inference. And dropping in lines like the attorney is he couldn't see his attorney right away, but presumably saw him since. I can only infer from that. And worried this was a trap. He worried this was a trap, actually attending the normal process for anyone with a visa, making the final step towards citizenship. And then when she talks about the masked, hooded men taking him into a car, masked, hooded men. Now that really gives, if you haven't seen the video, which we showed at the start, it means people in coats with their hoods up, yes, and with a mask on, but this is the context that's relevant. I mean, these are clearly officials, these are authorities, and of course, with the left being so rampantly evil in terms of trying to set mobs on people for simply doing their jobs, as they tend to do all over the place, then it's no wonder that the people working for the authorities like this need to conceal their identity.
Because, of course, we've never seen Antifa or pro-Palestinian protesters with masks, have we?
No, absolutely.
Yeah, also, they refer to this, and we saw this with Mahmoud Khalil, as an abduction or a what was the word they used? Something else, something other than arrest. It's called an arrest. You don't have to agree with it by saying what it is. You can say it's an unjust arrest, but they can't even use the word because they know if they actually tell you what's going on, you might you have a better chance of thinking for yourself, although I may, with their audience, I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, the former troll turned Daniel's biggest fan turned sometimes troll says that I'm not being creative today. Interesting. I just to hear that when I have 2 books sitting on my desk by Ogilvy is a special kind of insult. But Serenity Now. Let's watch some more of the clip.
Someone who is a threat to our supposed international foreign policy interests. And it's critically important that we do not allow Secretary Rubio to make these claims without providing proof, evidence to Congress. He is required to provide certification of his personal determination about Mahdawi's threat to our country to Congress. That has not happened. And it is clear that he is abusing his position as Secretary of State, and I won't have it.
Representative, you're a vice-ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee. Have you had any conversations with your fellow members of the committee, especially some Republicans, about this state of affairs of federal officers, as you say, mass grabbing people off the street and disappearing them effectively?
You would think that Republicans who serve on the Judiciary Committee would care deeply about the rule of law, care deeply about the Constitution. When we brought up the case of Abrego Garcia that you were just discussing on the show, who is a constituent of our ranking member, Jamie Raskin, in the committee, we were mocked. We were dismissed, saying that they were spewing all kinds of lies about him. And they do not seem to understand that their stance on this is a threat to Americans everywhere. They are using talking points from this administration that are based in lies, and they don't seem to care the damage that they are doing, certainly to these individual men and women who are being detained and disappeared, but more broadly to our Constitution and the system of government that we have here. It is shocking, it's disheartening, and you can bet that we're going to continue to bring up these issues within the committee. But it is a bleak time right now in the Judiciary Committee where we can't even get our colleagues to stand up for our Constitution.
Okay, all right. You know, this is something I've noticed my entire life, mostly from the left, when they have an issue well, it's with many issues, but they present issues as, this is not a left or right issue. This is an issue where, if you're just human or whatever, like everybody should agree on this. No, you have a position, explain your position, and convince others why they should support you rather than going in that direction. Yes, people are upset that we kept the clip going that long, but part of it is because, she was saying the same kind of crap, so I was waiting for something special, but also they were playing some of these protests about the arrest, and those protests about the arrest have the PLO flag. Now, you'll never hear this on Democracy Now!, but yeah, the PLO flag is the modern day swastika. That is what it is. That is what it means. And yeah, it tells you who these protesters are. They're not, and they had those signs about genocide and so on. So these are not free speech protesters, and they would not, be there if the shoe was on the other foot. Also, there were Jews in the protests, just in case you didn't notice. So they're totally not anti-Semitic. Marco.
And of course, the kitchen cloth that they're wearing is the new brown shirt, isn't it? They all make sure that they're wearing because they want to project who they are just by showing what they're wearing. And also, if you notice in the video, the yellow placard, who are they signed by? Oh, the Party for Socialism and Liberty. I mean, if you have never seen an oxymoron bigger than this, there it is. Socialism, i.e. the slavery to the state, and liberty. These people do not know the meaning of the words. It's just like the talking Jew earlier on. It's just a Kamala Harris style word salad. Just throw them their terms. Something will stick. Some people will hear what they like. Just say lots of words. I mean, this woman really drives me mad because, as I said earlier on, she's a representative of the United States. She sits in the Congress, so she's member of the legislative, and by saying what she's saying, she's effectively trying to interfere with the separation of powers. She's a legislative, the person in the legislative. She's trying to interfere with the judiciary effectively, and we know how well the Constitution separates the power, unlike the rest of the world, where most of the countries, I think, it's a muddle up of powers. So to say that the current government is trying to undermine the American system at the same time while undermining the American system is one of the most evil things you could ever do. And to somebody who lives in Europe, who realizes how revolutionary the old American system is, where the state is the servant of the people and not the way around. Here in Europe, we live by authorization of the government, effectively, to some or less degree. But that's how things are, and that's why the American system is a massive achievement in terms of political sciences, and it's probably unrivaled. But these people play within it and trying to wreck it. They hide behind the freedom of speech, which is a really wide concept in the United States. But they also know that the freedom of speech stops the state from interfering with the freedom of speech of the individual, not the way around. So it's annoying. It's annoying to see this kind of perversion and flipping of the argument.
And it's probably a good moment for a shout out to the principled analysis of the US Constitution course, which James Valiant is running on Thursdays for members at the Reardon level and above, because that really gets to the heart of what is the essence of the US Constitution and what are the philosophical principles that are behind it, and therefore why it is moral and why it's built on the right basis, and of course how it's been corrupted over time by various attempts to adjust it, but despite that, it's still the best example on earth of how to run a country. I think one of the things that struck me with this particular clip we just saw was what a whopper of a context drop you've got there when they're talking about taking people off the streets and disappearing them. I mean, detaining them and disappearing them as if they're going to be found in some shallow grave in the woods. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous to describe it that way, but it just is there to reinforce the notion of victimhood going on here, as if there's some evil authoritarian government working to crush anyone with a dissenting view. And that is not the case at all. The First Amendment prevents it from being the case. So it's just such a blatant lie and a misrepresentation of exactly what's going on here, missing out all the crucial details, which is the incitement to violence and all the actions of violence and rights abuse that organizations like the Palestinian Student Union have been promoting for so long.
Yeah, and of course, yeah, there is the additional irony of the people these people support, both Moshe Madhawi, Mahmoud Khalil, this channel Democracy Now! Did actually take people out of their lives, abduct them, and disappear them in tunnels and in civilian areas, and are holding some of them to this day. Thank you, Jonathan, for the super chat. Jonathan Honig, I imagine Jonathan is watching this thinking, good thing I didn't have to watch this Democracy Now! Crap to be on the show. But Jonathan will be tomorrow when, as of now, we're talking about Katie Halper. I know we've been rejecting her for a couple of weeks, which I'm sure she hasn't experienced. But look, Katie, we're not rejecting you because you're a woman or your looks or anything like that, in case that's what it implies. Only because you're evil but not important enough to talk about when there are other stuff to do. There's other stuff to do, and am I getting a? Okay, I'm just getting a message. Jonathan is not on tomorrow, so maybe we will save Katie Halper for when he is on. Kidding. Don't worry, Jonathan. We'll figure it out. Thank you, Bull Moose, for the super chat. Bull Moose says they absolutely should be mocked. This channel should also be renamed Democracy Now! LOL. Thank you, Akira, for the super chat. Akira and I often think alike, because I don't remember if I said this on this show, but I remember thinking of saying this on this show. Akira says, thank you for the super chat. Akira says, are Jesse Lee Peterson and leftist Jews the same? Yes, except I think Jesse Lee Peterson is a parody. I don't think he's for real. But if he is for real, yes, that is exactly, Jesse Lee Peterson. Look him up. Some of his stuff is funny if you have a, you know, problematic sense of humor like me. I think, he's a black white supremacist. That's the gist of it. Thank you, PC, for the super chat. PC says, Razi, as if you could not guess, their Facebook page is full of hostility to US and Israel. I'm content consuming their content only on YouTube for now, and I might take a break after this show for Katie Halper and other content creators. And there was a comment I wanted to read. Yeah, Mr. Beatty says supporting Palestine is supporting authoritarianism and fascism. Proof enough. Yes, yeah, absolutely. That's perfectly said. And as we said, there is an irony in the name, but not that much of an irony in a sense. Thank you, Jonathan, for another super chat. Let's go to some more of this clip. There was a point I'm hoping to reach in this clip. I think it's towards the end. So let's listen.
Agreed upon.
Could you talk as well about the difference with the public officials in Vermont? There was recently a Russian scientist working at Harvard, Ksenia Petrova, was detained by ICE and held at a Vermont women's prison in South Burlington for a week. How have officials in Vermont responded to these things?
So I will tell you that it's clear to me that we need a much stronger pushback from all elected officials in Vermont. I want more transparency about the kind of agreements that the state of Vermont has entered into with the federal government on these cases. Many of us in Vermont, and I was at a town hall the other night that was packed, many people asking about how is it that in a state that believes so clearly, the name, the motto of our state is freedom and unity. We stand up for each other. We believe in the rule of law. We believe in freedom, that we need more full-throated statements from elected officials, from the governor on down, about asking for more transparency on these issues. Vermonters do not want this happening in their name. And you can bet that the senators and I are going to continue to demand more answers. This is not who we are as Vermonters. It's not who we are as Americans.
Congressmember Becca Balint, I wanted to ask you about Ramessa Ozturk, the graduate student at Tufts, who was taken off the street as she was going to dinner by masked agents. She even said to them, I'm calling the police. They said, we are the police. Also, interestingly, one of her lawyers said at a Liberation Seder outside of ICE headquarters in New York the other day that she had told him that when the ICE agents surrounded her, they said, we are not monsters. One of them said, we are not monsters. We are only following orders. Now, she, too, was driven to Vermont and then flown away. Can you explain, since now the federal court in Vermont is taking on her case, what's happening with Ramessa?
Yes, and so it is deeply disturbing that she was so quickly flown away from our state. It's difficult obviously to have oversight when without any delay in her movement, we were not able to get the answers that we need. There's a lot we don't know about her case, so I don't want to misspeak. What I do know is that any person who is in this situation needs to be absolutely clear that they have right to due process. This is the piece that's getting lost here. This is the thing that my Republican colleagues will say. I had a colleague who used to be on the Judiciary Committee with me. Her name is Representative Victoria Spartz. She said in a town hall a few weeks ago, that these folks who are here legally, if they're not residents, aren't entitled to due process. It's absolutely not true. Anyone within the borders of the United States are entitled to due process. And so it is critically important that we as Americans, regardless of party, stand up for all of these students who are being detained, all of these professors and people who are simply speaking their minds who are being detained, that this is not in accordance with what our government stands for. And it is chilling to the bone to have somebody say, we are just following orders. That is what they said in Nazi Germany. That is what people
Okay,
said.
all right, of course, yeah. All right. Serenity now. Okay, yeah, people in the chat are pointing out, yeah, they were arrested. Mahmoud Khalil had his day in court. He's appealing. It's not that they are being taken by masked men, put on a boat, and being shipped elsewhere. And yeah, Chandler pointed out, OMG, they had masks. We hate masks. Yeah, are these the people who called us evil for not wearing masks? But yeah, different context, but still. Marco.
I mean, what more can you say? She's kind of hanged herself, isn't she? I mean, this woman, yeah, is the first Jewish woman who called for ceasefire, knowing very well what the ceasefire entails, which is allow Hamas enough time to gather their forces, to regroup, to obtain more weapons. She doesn't care about the Israeli dead because she's so busy in protecting the attackers, in protecting the people who are actually the evil party here, and they're so obviously so. She likes to point out she's a lesbian as well. She's quite happy to have the title scrolling and pointing out she is. Hang on, the side you're protecting would have you dead, and it's still not good enough to make you realize what you're talking about, who you're supporting. And again, it's the same old point. Every time you support the Palestinians, you're supporting Hamas. The Palestinians are not only Hamas. Hamas is not only Palestinian, but the Palestinians are also Islamic Jihad. They are the PLO. They are terrorists, like it or not. That's what they are. That's what they're trying to do to obtain their goal, i.e., the destruction of the state of Israel by violence. And at the same time, this guy, this very innocent guy who's been bundled up and disappeared by the police, is a criminal. I mean, like it or not, he is a criminal. He's broken the law by organizing the organization that called for violence, committed violence. And it's not just a matter of freedom of speech. You cannot hide behind the freedom of speech. This is a proper criminal. And the woman in question in the latest video we saw, well, at some point she looks like she's resisting arrest in the first place. The people arresting her are clearly got visible badges, the police badges. Some of them are wearing masks. The guy who's actually handcuffing her doesn't look like he's wearing a mask. So all this kind of making it up like we live in Nazi Germany, it's so disingenuous, so false. And of course, coming from the side that was propping up a semi-dead president, coming from the side that were actually taking the knees to a Marxist, racist organization and were forcing everybody else to do the same. The same side that were protecting Intifada and all the violence that they committed in the name of equity and all this kind of crap. So shut up, woman, and just hide yourself in shame.
I mean, it's this smear that is so spread across by this woman against the United States as well as Israel, isn't it? This is implying that the United States doesn't have transparency, doesn't have a rule of law, doesn't. It's inferring a conspiracy that is taking place between the Jews and the U.S. government to crush dissent anywhere they find it. And that is clearly not the case. I mean, she's making it sound as if anyone could be taken off the streets and bundled into the back of the van, but only if you've been attempting to violate the rights of others. Would this remotely be the case? And again, there would be the due process, and this is inferring that there's no such process because you haven't seen it in the first 10 seconds of the arrest, which is just. And then talking about people being flown away as if they've all gone to where? Guantanamo? I mean, it's the fact you're not making it clear what's happening. You're deliberately suggesting they're being disappeared off the face of the planet is just a smear, and it's just a disgusting way of insinuating that the USA is the evil country that is run by an equivalent of a mass dictatorship when that's the dictatorship you're actually supporting.
Thank you. Bronx Guy, Gun Hill Road, thank for the super chat. Thank you, PC, for the super chat. PC says, no, if you apply to enter the U.S. under a visa waiver and are denied by the Customs and Border Patrol officer, you get no right to a hearing. Likewise, if you overstay on it, you just get removed. So she talks nonsense. I mean, this is not the case with this guy. And yeah, he does deserve a day in court. Absolutely. And you don't want to live in a country where he doesn't get it. But he is getting it. And you know, and what they're pretending is, again, what they are portraying the situation in the way that they think will get the audience to the point of view that they want their audience to have, but not in the way that it's actually taking place. And uh, that is the problem there. PC says true, but he is guilty. Well, the court, as we saw with Mahmoud Khalil, the court will know what to do, and hopefully will do the right thing. Okay, Daniel, how much time do we have left on that video? Because 5 minutes. There's a point I just don't remember the timestamp. Let's do the last 2 minutes. Let's do the last 90 seconds, and hopefully it's within that.
A knee in front of this autocrat, and we have to stand together, folks. We have to stand together.
You lost your grandfather in the Holocaust?
I did. And I have often asked myself throughout my adulthood, what would I do in the face of such depravity? And the answer is, you don't lose your voice.
Okay.
You stand up.
Okay, that's all I wanted. What would you do in the face of that depravity? We are seeing what you're doing. You are supporting it. You are helping it. You are making sure that this time it doesn't just end at 6 million. That is what you're doing. And whatever you tell yourself, you know it's a lie. You know that the people you're working for would kill you as eagerly as they killed, like we mentioned, people in the peace movement, people who have dedicated their lives to the peace movement. Read my article on our Substack about Vivian Silver, because that is a woman who came to Israel, dedicated her life to this ideal of a two-state solution, two states living side by side in peace and security, the delusion that Israel has kept buying into and has paid for. That is what you are doing, and that's what you're working towards. And yes, I don't know her. Well, obviously, I don't know anything about her grandfather. I would doubt that the people who went through that would be okay with people like you, Congresswoman. Marco, parting thoughts, and where can people find you?
Moshin, as I said earlier on, is a despicable human being. But this woman, she's so evil. She's exactly the representation of what Ayn Rand called an evader, somebody who evades, somebody who chooses not to think, and somebody who goes by second-hand information, second-hand thinking, and somebody who chooses to effectively ignore reality and make it up as she goes along. She refuses what's in front of her face, but because she believes something emotionally, or for whatever reason she does, she then creates a narrative ignoring the fact. That's why she's supporting Hamas. That's why she's supporting the people who support Hamas. That's why she's trying to give a legitimate cover to Hamas and all the people trying to be plain anti-Semitic. I mean, this guy deserves everything that comes his way, deserves to be taken to court. It certainly deserves to be kicked out from the United States, because from the United States, he's trying to destroy the United States. And mind you, this woman is not far off. She's well embedded in the system, and she's definitely trying to destroy the system by saying the things she's saying. Again, this shouldn't happen. Americans, please wake up to what's happening, because this is about the future. You cannot leave and let the people who are supposed to serve you lead you down the precipice. That's what they're doing. All because, for some bizarre reason, they think they're on the right. just because they choose not to see what's in front of their eyes. So I haven't got any time for these people. This channel is Democracy Now! Channel is just a big gaslighting operation going on. They don't do anything good apart from, again, standing proudly on the side of the murderers and the monsters.
Absolutely. And in the little clip that we skipped over towards the end, one of them is referring to the Trump's own army of brown shirts, meaning the ICE officials are the army of brown shirts, when it's clearly, again, another example of gaslighting. Talk about the Gestapo again, all this Nazi language they use to treat America as if it's being the Nazis in this situation, which is despicable, to say the least. I think one of the places that you can check out the work that we've done is the Briefly Objective, the sister channel to this. And on there, you find all sorts of videos we've edited, including some related to those campus intifada videos from 9 months, 10 months, 11 months ago, where you can check out exactly what was going on at these institutions such as Columbia and Harvard, etc. Because it's a reminder of how venomous and evil it was, and how much the Jews trying to go about their daily lives on campus and get their education were being suppressed by the activities of these protesters, together with the criminal damage and the violence that you saw at the time there, and the intimidation. I think I suggest you look at those to remind you, because obviously none of those clips are being shown by Democracy Now! In the context of reporting on the people who were leading the charge, as it were, by forming these organizations and running them in the way they did. So that's a piece of advice there to please do that, and of course give it a like and a comment as well.
Yeah, I mean, I have expressed many times on this channel, I don't like Trump's policy on immigration. I'm not a fan of it, but come on. Yeah, the Nazis were not deporting people. That's not their claim to fame. Okay, so if you are making that comparison with ICE, then you are not on the side of the good. Akira reminds us of his suggestion to change the title to dictatorship later rather than totalitarianism. I think that was going to be the title because it's catchier, and there's alliteration there, which is always good. But totalitarian is broader, so more accurate. But since I do have Ogilvy on my desk, yeah, maybe that makes sense. All right, I was aiming not to go overtime with this because I thought, we don't need to spend more than an hour on them. But that didn't work. Tomorrow on the reality show, we will talk about Katie Halper, probably, unless Jonathan texts me and says, don't you dare talk about Katie Halper on an episode that I'm not on, in which case we will wait. And on the Daily Objective, we are going to talk about, we are going to have Nicholas, and he's going to talk about the debates in Canada, between the main candidates for prime minister. There was an English debate, there was a French, or maybe one of them is today. Speaking of Trump's successes, failures, I don't know which category this is in, but yeah, the conservatives were guaranteed to win this election until Trump came along, and now the left is all but guaranteed to finish the job that Trudeau started in destroying Canada. Thank you, Warnut, for the super chat. Warnut says, Democracy Now! Is just Al Jazeera with purple hair. Yes, was there purple hair there? But yeah, it is a form of Al Jazeera, and yeah, we've covered them and had some of that content removed in case you're watching this later on, and some of this has been removed. Anyway, thanks guys for joining me. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you back tomorrow.
Bye.